And then we were going to ship them out. And then we realized they needed poly bags. We never poly bagged before. So then we had to go to Staples, buy poly bags. And then we realized once you build the pallet, you need like the pallet wrapping stuff, which we didn't have. It was just an absolute disaster.
Dude, I was up to like 12 a.m. one time trying to wrap this pallet by myself. And I cannot get it right. Oh, dude, I was so pissed. But it was definitely worth it.
It was
Cheers.
I was not ready for that.
It's all good. Welcome back to the Doughboys podcast. I'm your host, Logan, joined today by my lovely studly co-host, Cisco the Goat. We also have two special guests today. First ever time with two guests, CJ, Ecom, Kaj, and Josh. What's up, guys? Thanks for being here today.
What's up?
Awesome. So yeah, go ahead and give us your background and your story of how you got started.
Want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. I'll kick it off. I was like a big, I would say back in like my high school days, big eBay flipper, going to a lot of like yard sales. Like grinded that out a fair amount, especially early in college too. Definitely was one way I was making money, and wasn't really sure how to scale it. Really took like the kind of Gary Vee approach and was like, yeah, I can go to all these yard sales, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to change anything with that. But just that mentality of thinking differently, I think did a lot for me, especially meeting Kaj. We did a lot of business together. So that was definitely sort of my background. You can kind of talk about yours, Kaj.
Yeah. So me and Josh, we started doing business together in high school. We did a network marketing business together for about a year and a half, and then stopped doing that once we got to college. And like Josh was saying, he was kind of always more into like flipping stuff, going to yard sales. That wasn't really my gig. But I always, was interested in business. And one day, I think it was either freshman or sophomore year in college, he sent me a YouTube video of someone like selling their private label course and like how they did private label. And he was like, I think we could do this. And I was like, I think you're right. And so we just pulled the trigger, started an LLC, and the rest is history.
Cool. So I'm interested in this network marketing business. Can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, for sure. It's like the classic multi-level marketing. You buy a product, you buy a starter pack, you get your friends to get into it, they buy it and sell it, and you sell some product direct to consumers. You get some people to like also be affiliate marketers too.
Okay. Sounds like a pyramid scheme.
Yep, the classic.
Yeah,
everyone thinks it's a pyramid scheme. Yeah, but it was one of those things where. What's up?
Did you see success with it?
You both said something at the same time.
Did you see success?
From a financial perspective, I think I broke even or maybe made a little bit of money. I think Josh close to the same.
Yeah.
So it did nothing that broke the bank, but it's definitely what changed my mentality for a business perspective. Because like if it wasn't for that, there's no chance I'd be doing Amazon right now.
So what about it changed your mindset of business and just your whole mentality?
Mainly for me, just seeing kids working for themselves, dropping out of school, actually making money. I was like, oh, you can do it differently than getting a 4-year degree and going the corporate route. Like you can actually work for yourself at a young age. I was like, whoa, that was like paradigm shifting.
I think it was also cool because what a lot of people didn't experience in that specific, I guess, business model is we ended up seeing a lot of like the higher ups. We were communicating like a lot with them, seeing what they were doing in terms of like their systems, their goals, what they were looking forward to, and like how they were continuing to grow their side of the business. And I don't think a lot of people get that when they first start something like that. They see like their friends do it, and their friends only, they don't have like everything planned out and like with their systems and all that kind of stuff. And so we kind of saw that background, and it was very eye-opening for us to see something different than like your obviously, typical, obviously like college grad and all that kind of stuff as well. It was definitely cool to see for sure.
Yeah. Have you kept up any of those connections and relationships that you built?
A few of them, yeah. Yeah, there are a few people who I text every now and then. And I'd be like, yo, remember this when we were doing this? Like now I'm doing this. And if it wasn't for you, like I never would have gotten here. stuff like that. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So then
Yeah.
fast forward, what you said, like a year and a half, and you started looking into PL.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So our first PL product had to be, I guess, 2017 is when we first started like going through the process of reaching out to manufacturers on Alibaba, looking for a specific niche. You tell them, okay, we want a sample of this, and then they send it to you, and it's totally not what you said to make. And then you go through 6 or 7 iterations of that. You build the listing, you run a PPC campaign that totally flops, then you redo it, the whole process. So we did.
Wait, you mean I don't get $1 million overnight?
Well, I would say
12
we
hours,
got,
man. 12 hours.
Where's my Lambo?
we made about $1 million in 3 hours now. It definitely did not make $1 million overnight. It was
Sign up for the course right here.
Yeah.
Link below. If you sign up in the next 15 minutes, it's 97% off.
But what was
96.
cool is that we saw like a lot of like on the private label side, a lot of the work is upfront. They're very different from OA. Like once we got everything done, we got it like made, like there really wasn't a whole lot for us to do in like the day-to-day kind of running the business. Everything was going straight from China right to Amazon. There wasn't like a warehouse that we had to store it in, which is definitely cool. And I think we want to get back to. I just don't think that's a really good model for us right now, just based on cash flow and all that kind of stuff. You can really hold your cash up there for a really long time and you can't recycle it, and then you kind of get stuck. So
yeah, that's pretty much the rate. So right now we are 100% OA, and we're going to start adding in some wholesale too. But that's really the main reason why we switched from PL. Because our first product was like, I would say break even, good learning experience. We made some mistakes, learned from those. And we spent a lot of time doing research before we decided to pull the trigger on a second one. And the second product was actually fairly good. I think we sold it for a little bit over a year.
Yeah.
We launched it during COVID, which helped
was awesome.
because it just took off.
It's
Like the
insane.
first shipment hit the Amazon warehouse, and then we weren't even running PPC, and sales just started flying. And we were like, okay, now the Lambo's coming.
Yeah.
But then, like Josh was saying, you just run into cash flow issues because you got to wire the supplier like a 30% down, 50% down for them to start the manufacturing process. Then that takes 30 days. Then it takes another 30 days for it to get to Amazon. So your cash flow cycle is just not super fast. And then we got to a point where we were like, okay, we're either going to keep trying to do PL or we should switch more to like an arbitrage model. And we decided on the latter.
Gotcha. So talking about cash flow a bit, one thing that's really cool about the online arbitrage model is you're able to leverage credit a lot easier. Like say you have that Plum card, you can really easily sell through your inventory in time to pay it back. But with
Yep.
private label, it sounds like that's not really the case. So
Nope.
correct me if I'm wrong, but then I'm curious where you got like your startup capital.
So we were bootstrapping for private label. We were just funding it ourselves.
It came from the garage sales that Josh went to.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, all the garage sales.
It was the little Mickey Mouse lighters that he sold for $100 on eBay.
Oh man.
So I kind of want to know a little bit more about Josh and how like your experience was with like garage sales and did you do any thrifting at all?
Yeah, I can talk about some good scores.
Yeah.
So obviously like my main stores, Goodwill, went to Goodwill. I think my best Goodwill score I had where it was actually in the book category, which I was kind of pleasantly surprised. And they were actually like shit. I don't even know how to describe it. They were like, basically it like told you like how every ship was built. And like you could like take like the Mayflower, for example, and it told you like everything that they use, like what type of wood, how many they use, and they like would like piece it all together in this like massive book. It had like 10 of them. And I was like, I have hit the mother load. I was like so stoked like that one day. I was like, let's go. And this was like when we were like still had our Amazon account for like our private label too. So I kind of just put them on there and they sold. So that was cool.
I remember that.
But yeah, Goodwill.
That was a great flip.
I went one yard sale. This one was kind of weird because it was like yard sale. I guess I think some woman's husband had like died or like something like that. And she was trying to get rid of some of her stuff. And I remember like when the connotation kind of turned, because I was like, I like bought all this stuff and I like bought it for her. She was like, just take it. And I was like, let me just give you something for it. And like all my friends just picked on me. It just ripped me. Like they were like, oh, you took advantage of this woman. I was like, I didn't take advantage of this woman. Like she just wanted to like give me all this stuff. But I ended up scoring like a really cool, it was like a Vox, which is like musical amplifier. And it was like and it basically like replayed, it like looped. And it was cool because when you turned on like the stereo, it like played like a tape, and it would just constantly just keep on playing. So it was pretty intricate. And I ended up selling that for like $500. I think I paid like $20 for it. So there were some definitely cool scores here and there, and there was always great stories. But I just never knew how to like, you know, get it to the next level and kind of continue from there. So yeah, I just kind of got stuck after a while. And I was like, all right, this is cool, but like, it's not going to really change anything. So I think I should probably move on.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to stay consistent, especially like if you're relying on other people to sell things and
Yeah,
taking advantage of old ladies. You know, can't take
Exactly.
advantage of all of them.
Yeah, you're not gonna
like,
get a
dude.
Lambo like that.
Yeah, no. But it was
Cool.
definitely
So
good times.
going back to private label a bit, are there any things you probably would have done differently if you were to redo private label, knowing what you know now?
I don't know if there's anything we would have redone differently with private label.
Yeah,
I just
what are
think
some
we
things
would
you
have
did right
started
then?
arbitrage faster. I think that would be the biggest thing, right? Just started doing arbitrage,
Probably mixing in arbitrage,
or at
would
least
have been
mixing
better.
it in. Yeah.
So
Okay.
probably some things that we could have done better. I mean, again, it was so like you really have to do it and learn. That's just something that me and Kaj always like kind of know. So it's not like we made any mistakes. Like we literally made a mistake with one product because it was a little bit on like the lower. It was like $14 or $15 product.
The sale price was lower.
So sale price was lower. And then on top of that, there were already a lot of people dominating that niche that were like very, very well known. And so it was hard to, you know, gather traction on that. Plus we didn't really, usually what you like to do is you like to be different in some way. And we didn't really create that difference that the market
Uniqueness.
would reward us for.
Yeah.
So, and we did that on our second product, and we ended up working out for us,
Right.
which we saw really good kind of results in. So yeah, I mean, it was altogether a really good experience. Wouldn't have done anything different. Actually, I'm kind of glad we started on the product that we did,
Agreed.
our first product, because it was so cheap that it was an easy, quick lesson.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so expensive that it took everything out of our business so that we couldn't do anything else afterward.
Right.
So,
And even with the second product, like part of the reason why, like it was a good niche, but we kind of just got outplayed by bigger sellers. Like after the first, I think 8 months of selling it, like it was the only product we had in our store. We're bootstrapping, and then it was actually incredible. If I ever meet the person, I like want to shake their hand. Like
seriously,
we witnessed the perfect PL launch. Like we
Perfect
saw
PL
them come
launch.
onto the market, and like we're like, okay, let's keep an eye on this guy. And then within like maybe a month, they were the #1 for the top keyword in the
Wow.
the niche. And like you click on their storefront, and they have like tons of PL products. So they obviously, you know, have more capital to spend on PPC. They have more capital to buy inventory. So we were just like, we just can't compete with these guys.
Mhm.
And that's the spot we want. So that was also another reason why we kind of switched. But again, it's one of those things where, yeah, I don't know if we really would have done anything differently just because of everything that we learned about private label and the space. And we definitely want to get back into it.
for sure.
But for right now, we're just focusing on arbitrage.
Yeah, that was actually my next question. I was going to ask if you guys wanted to get back into PL, because Logan and I have a friend, Phil. I don't know if you guys are familiar. We consider
by
him,
Amazon?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
Phil.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
literally just watching some of his videos
Yeah, yeah.
before I came on today.
So we consider him the meme king, but yeah, that's kind of how, like, I've known Phil since I started Amazon, because we were both in the same Discord with Rizzy. And yeah, he
gosh,
started with
Rizzy.
with arbitrage and just built up his capital. He, for the most part, up until like recently this past year, he was doing straight just cash. And then now he's kind of taken that capital and started transforming it into PL products and launching different PL products. And I'd find it hilarious if it ended up being him that was those competitor, because I know like 2 of his private label products like instantly went to like Amazon recommended and like 100, like in the 100 sales rank category. So it would be
That would be
insane
funny.
if that was him. Maybe one day.
I
maybe one day
don't
we'll
think
find
it
out.
is, because we had a conversation with him a few months, a while back. But I feel like he was saying most of his products were like on the smaller side.
Okay.
And the product we were selling was fairly large. Yeah, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe he's capping. He's just
maybe he's keeping it close to the vest.
Yeah.
But I guess that's kind of leads into my question. Like, do you guys plan to follow that kind of blueprint, kind of use OA and RA to kind of build up your capital to kind of re-enter the private label game?
Yeah, I think that's part of the plan. So the next immediate step is just adding in wholesale. And this is something like we're saying, like down the road, we definitely want to get back into private label. We don't have, I don't know, unless maybe you have like an exact, the next 4 steps to get there.
No.
But I think long term, it's just having a brand, and even if you have like a separate account that's for your private label, that's just something that's, much more sellable than an arbitrage cash flow business.
For sure.
Building that brand equity and recognizableness.
Yeah.
So talk a bit about your transition then into arbitrage. How exactly, you did that, sourcing strategies, operations, how did everything go?
Oh, can I share a story?
Oh yeah, sure, go ahead. We have so
many stories. So Josh talked about all his scores. I'll talk about some of my failures. So Josh, coming from the eBay background, kind of knows what to look for. I had no clue. Like all I've done is message suppliers in China and send them FNSKU labels. So now Josh is taking me into Marshall's, trying to teach me how to find stuff, and I have no idea what to do. So I find this like one pair of Adidas pants, I think. And I'm like, it was like what, maybe $10 selling for 40. I'm like, big score. No idea how to read Kiva, right? It's a 4XL size. And I'm like, there's got to be at least like 10 4XL size people in the US that are going to buy this, right? And then Josh is like, I don't know, dude. I don't think this is going to sell. I'm like, it's going to sell. So we bought it, never sold. So that was my first experience with transitioning into arbitrage.
It was a fail. It was an L for learning lesson.
A learning experience.
An L in RA.
Yeah, there was funny. A lot of Marshalls around. Marshalls was like my go-to back in the day. This was like what, Q4?
Yeah, Q4 2021.
Yeah, 2021. Mm-hmm. We were just ripping every Marshalls that we could kind of come across, because we knew exactly what products worked in that store, and we would just clear them basically all out. And that was a lot of fun. But I remember, because we were on the phone with Miles, Flips for Miles, because we ended up taking his course, and I was like, dude, I like freaking every time I go to Marshalls, it's like $500 spend, easy inventory all day long. He's like, dude, I spend like $2,000 a day, like easy, no problem. And I was like,
But there's a huge difference though. There's a difference, because like a lot of, I mean, I don't know like Miles' storefront, but I would assume that a lot of his products are low hanging fruit that are just 20-15% ROI, but have huge velocity, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Logan wouldn't know anything about this because he lives in the boonies. But like you can go into a Marshall or to a TJ Maxx and just spend $500 and make $800, depending on if you're able to like find the right things, whether it's like the clearance section or in toys, or just like any like Nike, Under Armour, Adidas stuff that's there. And it's funny because I just I'm helping my mom start off her Amazon business.
Nice.
And we went to Ollie's.
Oh yeah, baby.
We got a story about Ollie's. We got a good story about Ollie's.
We went to Ollie's this past Saturday, and man, like I forgot. Like I don't know why I stopped going. Like I went in there. There were so many things that she couldn't get because she was gated. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put it in my cart, and we're gonna go. Spent like $400, and then I'm like, I sent it in today, and then my profit calculator said it's gonna be like 1,200 in profits.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just like I need to start going back to Ollie's at least once a week.
Dude, Ollie's is the game. What was your story about Ollie's?
The Arnold Palmers.
Oh yeah, you definitely got to start off. That's awesome. That's a great story.
So, just so to kind of timeline of where we are, right? So 2020 is when we had our best year with the PL product. And then it was a seasonal product. So it kind of goes from like March through September-ish, right? And then it kind of dies down. So then once the PL product died down is when we started getting into going to the Marshalls, the TJ Maxx, and we did that for pretty much all of Q4. Fast forward to 2021, we're still doing some retail arbitrage, trying to figure out online arbitrage, not figuring out online arbitrage. And then that's when we took Miles's course, and then we kind of exploded in the online arbitrage. But so going back to, now I'm rewinding again, 2021. Awesome. As soon as we're doing retail arbitrage, right? He goes to Ollie's and he's like, dude, I found the score. So it's a 6-pack Arnold Palmer's. I forget exactly what the margins were, but I think we were buying the 6-pack for like $5-ish.
Yeah, $5 making $4.
Profiting about $4. But now they're heavy, right? So we can't ship these small parcels. And they had hundreds of them. So we decided to try and do pallets. And we're doing them out of his mom's garage. Now, mind you, we've never done anything on scale into Amazon, right? So we buy them all. Oh, so backing up again. The first time we did a pallet, we maybe tested a few, maybe, I don't know, 10, 20, whatever, just to make sure it sold. Sent them in. They all sold like as soon as they checked it, just like fire. We're like, all right, bet, we're clearing them out. So I go back to Ollie's and I'm like, can I buy all of them? And the lady's like,
no returns.
And then she was like, well, the problem is, though, our store policy says I have to physically touch each one. Like, I can't just give you the pallet. So then to check out, like, one guy brings the pallet over, and then I'm literally in the store unloading them one by one onto the counter and then back into carts. And then I rented a U-Haul.
Yeah, we rented rented the U-Haul.
A staff member had to help me unload them one by one into the U-Haul. Then I drive to Josh's garage, had to unload them out of the U-Haul again into the garage. We had to de-sticker every single one, and then we were going to ship them out, and then we realized they needed poly bags. We'd never poly bagged before. So then we had to go to Staples, buy poly bags, and then we realized once you build the pallet, you need like the pallet wrapping stuff, which we didn't have. It was just an absolute disaster.
Dude, I was up to like 12 a.m. one time trying to wrap this pallet by myself, and I cannot get it right, especially like down the bottom. It gets tricky. Oh, dude, I was so pissed, but it was definitely worth it.
It was a disaster.
It was a disaster.
But we've done a pallet.
We have. Oh yeah, tell them when they tried to pick it up.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So his mom's driveway is like on this like crazy hill, and so like you can't really get a truck up there. And then we were doing like we did it through Amazon to like pick it up. So we told them like, hey, like we don't have a lift, like a pallet jack thing. So we need a truck with a lift gate. And they're like, okay, no problem. So they scheduled us through this one company. I think it's called YRC Freight. And so I'm there the day it's during the time window it's scheduled to be picked up. And then one of the big Amazon Prime trucks pulls up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not gonna work. So I like look around the back. I'm like, maybe it has a pallet jack, or the lift gate doesn't have a lift gate. So I tell the driver, I'm like, dude, this isn't gonna work. He's like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. I'm just gonna leave. I'm like, great. He's like, yeah, sorry, dude. He's like, those people on the back end, they just like, they don't really pay attention to what they're doing. They just type away and just send it off. I'm like, dang it. And then I thought it was over. And then apparently another truck came. So somehow they scheduled 2 trucks, and it was the right truck with the lift gate. But the guy, like, it took him like forever to figure out like how to back up the driveway and get the thing in. But then eventually we got it shipped out. It's one of those things where it's just like, you just send it and you learned as you go.
Yeah, that's our philosophy.
Trial by fire.
I mean, like for me, like stuff like that is what makes like starting a business fun. Like just kind of being in the middle of it, learning things as you go, and like the stories that you guys build. And I'm sure like a lot of those stories have made you guys closer as friends and business partners too. Like you guys are in there together, totally. and just like I commend you guys because you guys. It sounds like you guys aren't scared to try anything. just kind of just go and do it.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. That's sick.
Awesome. So yeah, let's
fire,
talk a little bit.
Aim.
Let's talk a bit more about that friendship partnership. You know, because a lot of people, I've heard this a lot. You shouldn't go into business with your friends and family. I've
We
heard
literally were
you
just
shouldn't,
talking about this the other day.
you shouldn't go into a partnership. So yeah, talk a little bit more about that, and then yeah.
I think it helps. Why don't I just start with my perspective, and
Yeah,
then we
sure.
can go to yours, because I
Totally.
think it helps with me. Because like, so with me being so I'm a physical therapist. Ironically enough, I will heal myself proudly from this dislocated arm that I experienced in Colorado snowboarding. Surgery upcoming, but that's okay. But so I'm a full-time physical therapist, and I just know I don't have the time to start a full-fledged Amazon business. With working and then stuff on top of that, kind of life on top of that, and starting at Amazon. So I obviously knew I needed a partner that, one, I could trust, and two, that I knew pretty close. And Kaj was definitely the answer there. And I know that he ended up going to Widener for business and was working at a gym, CrossFit gym, I think, and he was doing well there. But I felt like we needed to mix things up. What do you think, Kaj?
Yeah. And I mean, so we've known each other since like middle school, and we've been pretty tight ever since.
Yeah.
And I guess with the Amazon thing, like with what we did in high school before that, like we've already worked together in some capacity. We have like similar visions and goals, but complementary skill sets. So like I'm like kind of the operations guy, like knowing what pieces need to be where, moving stuff together. And then Josh is like, his lean is much more towards like the sourcing side, finding the products, finding the deals, finding like the next move kind of thing. And yeah, so we've been friends since high school. We go to the same church, so we have like trust, similar faith. Yeah, so like our core values are similar, and we have a complementary skill set, and then we just kind of both stumbled into the same opportunity, so it made sense.
And there were like so many times where we were doing this and we were like, dude, I don't know how people do this by themselves.
Literally no.
Because it was just so like, well, like a terrible experience that you can't share with anybody, or no one will understand like your story at all. It's like me and Kaz were just like, dude, what are we doing? So dumb at like some points. But then like you have like the victories and you're like, dude, this is the best thing ever. Like, let's keep going. Like, so I think we really enjoyed the path to where we are now. And we're definitely looking forward this year to see what kind of growth we can get for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. I really enjoy working with partners. Like in Alpha Candles, we've got a few different owners, and then I'm working on some other stuff that I'm gonna have partners too. And like you get more people to help share that workload. You get different perspectives to bounce ideas off people. There's just a ton of benefits. Like really the only downside is you don't reap 100% of the reward, but it's worth it in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
totally.
Yeah, and just to kind of like echo what you guys said, you know what? I'm actually the complete opposite. I like to go solo bolo. No, I'm just kidding. No, I definitely agree with what you guys are saying, and it's funny because there's always like this J. Cole line that I always think of. Like he says something along the lines of, what does it matter sitting in first class if my homies can't sit? So like being partners in business and being partners with your friends and family and like kind of helping them along too, and them helping you. It's kind of what, for me, it's what it's all about, really. Like, what is like sitting in first class if you're gonna sit there alone? Like, what's the point of ordering the most expensive steak at a restaurant if your friend has to order, chicken nuggets?
Dude, it's lonely at the top, man.
It is
lonely at the top. It so is.
Just leave me in the middle where I can go on, first class every once in a while. I'm good there as long as I can take my friends with me.
Yeah, use your Amex points though.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Should have plenty of those.
Can I just use your guys' Amex points? I'm trying to save mine.
You see the guy, the owner of Barstool Sports?
Oh yeah,
the black card.
Yeah, dude, he swipes
at TJ Maxx,
47 million points.
That's insane.
Points. I was like, what?
First off, what is he doing at TJ Maxx? That's what I want to know. Is he storing our inventory?
Some retail arbitrage.
Yeah, that's facts.
Dude, look, trying to flip some 4XL Adidas junk.
Yeah. You know what? Kind of going back to that story, it's funny because you're right. Like for me, the only clothes that sell is really like double XL and smaller. Even like the like XXS, the extra small ones don't sell. But when it comes to shoes, man, like I've sold some size 14s, I've sold some size 15s. Like shoes are a little bit different for whatever reason. I mean, I'm a size 11 if anybody wants to buy me some shoes.
I feel like a lot of people who have like the less common size shoes, like those bigger ones, they end up going to Amazon
because they can't find them anywhere.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's
100%.
a disaster.
And there's usually like on those sizes, like the most I've ever seen is maybe like 10 sellers on one like shoe listing.
Right.
And so like they're higher ranked, they don't move as much, but there's also a lot less competition. And that's why it's also priced a lot more. And who knows, for all you know, you could have just sold, a pair of shoes to LeBron. You never know. No, I doubt it. He's probably getting free shoes all the time, but you never know.
These are all free.
Yeah, facts.